Hi everyone, welcome to Mentally Strong Mums. So today's going to be a really good episode. It'll be really interesting because how it impacts our children as well as parents and their own dating habits because of the world that we live in with social media. And if anyone's not aware, I am a social worker. So I have an undergraduate degree in psychology, but I've got a master's in social work. And for me, I identify more as a social worker because it's that holistic perspective of the world. What has happened to you, what is in your ecosystem, what's in your environment, and that essentially then shapes you, how you were raised, the people that you choose to be friends with, the relationships and partners that you choose. So understanding and looking at everything without judgment from the bigger perspective, right? So this one here episode, okay. So we want to explore how social media is influencing our children and our youth, as well as algorithms, how they pop up. Sometimes then it doesn't even just influence our youth. Sometimes, because I do couples therapy, I've had mothers come in and their husband starts to have these quite extreme views on feminism and then almost a paranoia that the woman is going to leave and then take everything. And it's really overwhelming and scary because, from her perspective, she's done nothing to be able to provoke this or give that impression or has ever said it. And she's genuinely confused as to where this has come from. So, this will also give you a really interesting, objective understanding of the world that we're living in, algorithms and social media. There's also this interesting modern dating landscape and how it's shifting due to political and social division, as well as birth rates going down and how people are choosing to be single as opposed to being in relationships. So we'll explore that as well. So this just doesn't impact our teenagers or our young adults. It also impacts us as mothers, our friends, or even our partners. And so the rising of polarization. So you think about what's happening in America and who's the current president, and sometimes that polarization or extreme views can also fuel some of this, as opposed to looking at things objectively or interestingly. I've taken that's all I see through all of my algorithms and I'm running with it. And you're either with me or you're against me. And you're just like, well, just give me a minute to breathe, right? So, how social media can influence all of this, how sometimes the youth or even single mums have dating fatigue, and then understanding how now navigating relationships can be so much more complex. And if we have teenagers who are sons or daughters, how we don't bury our heads in the sand, but we can actually be there for them because we can understand what's happening, right? So I don't know if you know woke fishing. So from woke fishing to misinformation to dating app burnout, and with the dating apps that are all out there, and sometimes there was this huge thing about sexual assaults on dating apps and what that would look like. We need to be able to understand fear mongering and what the recent research has to say about everything that's going on. And especially if you single mums and all you want is to be loved in a healthy relationship. And sometimes it can be hairy scary out there, you know? So we need to understand how algorithm driven component is shaping young men's worldviews, why politics are playing a bigger role in relationship compatibility, how to support your children navigating love during this really messy time. And then, especially if you are a single mum or if your partner is having these viewpoints as well, how you can actually navigate this through for yourself, right? So, we need to have a look at the evidence. So there was a 2023 survey by the Man Cave that found that 28% of Aussie teen boys admired Andrew Tate. Okay. 36% of them related to the content he was saying. And I don't know if you know Andrew Tate. Andrew Tate is quite extreme. He's very misogynistic. He comes from a world where women need to be put in their place, they're less than men, all of that, right? And it's interesting because he was very smart in the rise of his social media and how he and his extreme views became famous. So, what he essentially did was he said to the youth out there, if you can make TikTok videos or Instagram reels, push out my message to however you can, you will receive a certain amount of money or a certain percentage of money if this goes viral. So if I earn millions for this viral content, you will be able to reap my rewards and have a share in this income. So the reason why his Andrew Tate's rise with all of his social media, because he wasn't just doing the content, all of these people who wanted to earn money, who wanted coin, essentially made extreme content or extreme views or extremely confronting, misogynistic about why men are better than women, why men can't trust women, why women, etc., 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 right? And so because all of these little minions went out there and did this, they then got huge payday. So then that reinforced that behavior for them to make more extreme videos, more extreme content, so then they would go viral with their content, therefore making them, some of them were doing hundreds of thousands of dollars for the content they were doing for Andrew Tate. And that's how the rise came up because the word got out there. People were making a lot of money. More people got involved. More people were making content. And that's how that pushed out, right? And because of the volume of content, the extreme nature sometimes of that content, the algorithms changed, and once you start seeing something, I think it's once you see something 7 times, you then believe that and trust that brand. So if your algorithms are constantly showing this and you see it for a minimum of 7 times, no wonder 36% of young men or even just men in general relate to that content. And then that's what they start believing. Okay. So there's a UK Hope Not Hate report revealed that 45% of men aged 16 to 24 held positive views of Andrew Tate. 45% of men. So in terms of brain development, this is your frontal lobe, which is your forehead, right? For boys, that does not develop in terms of critical thinking, being able to think objectively, reasoning, and logic. That doesn't develop until 25. So before the age of 25, these boys, 16 to 24, because they don't have that ability, because their brain hasn't developed, 45% of them had positive views on Andrew Tate and what he's pushing. And yeah, that sounds right. And yeah, men are superior or whatever that looks like, right? Only 1% of women did. So there's also a YouGov economist poll, and 86% of Americans say it's harder to date across political lines than before. And so that means that sometimes the right wing or extremist views, anything to do with what's his name again? The all of that kind of stuff, right? That's what I believe. You're either with me or against me. I can't believe that you don't like that. I can't believe that you can't understand why Trump's in all of that kind of stuff, right? And so, because of that polarizing extreme nature of that, as well as all the misinformation, and even with Trump, he didn't do the traditional marketing and advertising that political people have been doing traditionally. He said no to all of that. And what he did was he did targeted Facebook ads for his information, for his misinformation, for his scaremongering, whatever that looks like. So he abandoned the traditional ads or campaigns or bulletin boards or anything. And so he put all of his resources in targeted Facebook ads. So then that changes the algorithm. And if you don't understand algorithm, so essentially algorithms in social media, they just want to make you happy, right? So if they see you like something or you comment on it, it goes, oh, good, let me show you more. Oh, they liked it. Oh, good, let me show you more. So then as soon as you start to like something, it will then show you more of that content. And so if you listen to a couple of Andrew Tates, because in social media it understands your gender, it will then have a bias towards what the traditional gender would like. So if it thinks I'm a man, or if I've said that I'm a man, it will push certain things. If it thinks I'm a woman, it will push other things that it assumes women like. It's very interesting. I play with algorithms all the time, right? So, understanding all of this, social media platforms can expose young men to extreme views after just 20 to 30 minutes. So this fuels misogynistic beliefs, paranoia about relationships, and a superiority of one gender over the other, right? I don't know if you heard that right, but if the social media knows that you are boy, masculine, boy, identify as a male, it will within 30 minutes target misinformation, misogynistic views, and it's been proven and documented that that has happened. So you think about our young men, our young boys, where phones are normal, connecting on social media is normal, doom scrolling, mindless dissociation, and connecting with reels, and you're doing this all the time, whether it be on TikTok or whatever. It knows that you're a man. There is evidence that within 30 minutes, social media platforms will expose men to extreme misogynistic beliefs and paranoia about relationships. And that's what I said, even sometimes with women who come in here, they're like, well, my partner has just kind of come up with all of this stuff and they think I'm going to leave him and I'm going to take everything. And then they keep having passive aggressive comments at me that I'm a woman and I should be doing this. And, if you don't give me sex, then I've got nowhere else to get it from. So you'd better give it to me. I beg your pardon? What are you talking about? Do you know what I mean? We're meant to be a partnership. This is meant to be a respectful relationship. We're supposed to be in a healthy marriage. Can we talk about this? Can we negotiate? I wonder where this has come from. So it's all really relevant in this day and age, and it also sets our young boys up for a world where it's confusing as to what a healthy relationship is. Okay, so it's especially really important for us mums, for us parents to be able to understand what's happening and what they're being exposed to. So you think about even that's what's happening to our poor young boys, where all of this is becoming normalized, where this is what they're seeing and this is potentially what they're connecting with and understanding their brain development that under the age of 25, they don't have their frontal lobe, their forehead, executive functioning hasn't completely developed, so they don't have that reasoning, logic, understanding consequences. It hasn't developed. They don't have it, right? That's why for your kids, you can't ever say, what are you thinking? Because they don't have the ability to be able to have that complex thinking. They don't. It's impulses and emotions are vindictive or they're dysregulated, right? So for a lot of teenage girls or even young women and even single mums that are out there in this dating world who are confused and overwhelmed by it, many young women have been reporting that they feel unsafe or exploited on dating apps, leading to dating fatigue or intentional celibacy. And they call that boy sober. I just want to be boy sober, right? And you understand the rise of platforms like OnlyFans and how the sexualization of women and men being able to pay for this to see it. And then even on Instagram, young women who have challenges to be able to sleep with 1,000 men in a year or 100 men a day or whatever this is for that short-term fame and how that then, if that's then presented to our young boys, that behavior then becomes normal. And that's how I want to be able to fit in the world. And then when they do that, which they think is normal and acceptable to a woman, to a young girl, a girl's then confused, going, well, that's not what I want. So she doesn't have her own self-worth, her own boundaries. If she doesn't feel safe, that young girl will now struggle with self-worth, trust of the opposite gender, trust of who she is, as well as anxiety around intimacy and connection. It's only about the boys. They're just, right, can be awful. And then no wonder you've got dating fatigue and being boy sober, right? But for our boys, being exposed to this content actually preys on their own insecurities, right? So that's then a manipulation of our young boys. It then reinforces negative gender stereotypes. Men do this and women do this. Women are only here for this. Women are only meant to be that because of whatever, right? So then that can, because it's preying on their insecurities, that then creates a hostility towards women and healthy relationships, because when a woman then challenges that or puts up boundaries, they're genuinely confused because of what they've seen and what they've been exposed to and what they've heard. So it's sad and unfortunate for our boys, but it's also sad and unfortunate for our girls as well. So it's a really unusual time trying to move forward, right? So understanding for boys when that happens, or when they're confronted, or when it doesn't go the way that social media or the Andrew Tate or the OnlyFans or even watching porn, when it doesn't go that way, that then can lead to social withdrawal for our boys. It can also lead to aggression. And then it can also have a reluctance to form genuine connections, right? So, looking from that social work lens, from the bigger perspective, understanding the world that we live in and how all of this impacts the people that we're surrounded by and even ourselves, depending on what your gender, right? So, especially as a mum, even sometimes I say, do you think you could have open conversations? Even asking your kid, do you know who Andrew Tate is? Do you know about this? Do you know about this phrase? Do you know about Boysober? Have you ever watched porn? Can you ever tell me the truth about these things? I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to shame you, because that's that ultimate secure attachment that you have with your children. And sometimes even when I suggest that to parents, they'll even be, oh no, they're too young. No, no, they're not too young. No, I don't know what to say in that kind of stuff. Well, maybe educate yourself first, because then maybe that's your shame or that's your experiences with it. So maybe explore therapy or counseling and unpack why you're nervous to have those conversations first. Maybe it's a trauma response for you. Maybe something uncomfortable has happened to you that's preventing you from having that connection to your kids. Oh no, when I was young, my mum never had any of that with me. I wouldn't even know where to start. It's a different day and age. We can't put your heads in the sand anymore, right? Having open conversations about digital safety. And if you don't know about digital safety, you can't have a conversation about it, right? About gender equality. That's feminism, what that actually means. It doesn't mean that feminism is right and being mean to, like, no. How can we have equality through both genders, being gender neutral, being able to support each other as humans, not because of the gender, right? As well as emotional intelligence. So, if you don't know what emotional intelligence is, I'll have to obviously do a podcast on it. Let me know. And I will literally teach you step by step how to do that and how to teach that to your kids, right? Because their frontal lobe isn't developed, you have to help them critically analyze online content, right? To be able to question narratives. Huh, is that what you saw? Do you think that's true? Have you ever seen this around you in real life, or have you only ever seen it online? Cool. So, have you talked about this to your mates? What do they say? Do you know, just having really informal conversations and looking at everything with curiosity. Oh, that's interesting. Do you know what I mean? We also need to be able to model healthy boundaries and discuss healthy boundaries and a value-based relationship. So that's very difficult because if your hubby has been exposed to this, which the evidence suggests so, if you're on social media or TikTok, so then how can you understand what's happening and be able to put up healthy boundaries to say, that's not correct. That's not the truth. I'm not going to leave you. We're meant to be in a partnership. If you would like to have sexual relations with me, it's not your right to be able to access my body whenever you would like to. I need to feel emotionally safe with you to be able to connect and have intimacy, right? And so next episode, I'm going to do one on sex and intimacy and what that looks like in healthy relationships. So that would also be a good one, right? Also, having a value-based relationship. Our relationship should be based on our values. I need to support you, but sometimes what you're confronting me with, that's fear-based. That's not accurate. What's the truth? The truth is I've always been here for you. The truth is I've always been faithful to you. The truth is you're my life partner. The truth is you should be able to come to me to talk to me about this as opposed to attacking me. If this is something that you fear, can we talk it out? Do you need counseling or therapy? Whatever that is, right? So understanding all of that, right? For single mums that are dating in this current climate, especially dating means navigating big conversations early. So sometimes understanding topics like politics or gender roles, social views, social values can come up quite sooner, right? And understanding if they don't align with you or your values, sometimes they can be deal breakers. So you might even notice dating apps feel exhausting. They feel quite unsafe and they're full of performative values, such as woke fishing, right? So instead of seeing them for who they are, they've gotten ChatGPT to write their profile for them to tell me what they think that I need. And so then they've got all these beautiful terms. They know emotional intelligence, they know secure attachment. Oh, what a lovely guy. They don't actually believe that. It's woke fishing, right? So many women are now choosing self-focus or celibacy or even smaller social circles over dating apps. And that's completely valid. It's completely okay, obviously, to step back because it's very overwhelming, right? But it's that cognitive dissonance where you're stuck between wanting connections and then fearing the emotional labor of trying to date in this climate, right? So what can help you if you feel this way is to be able to clarify your core values and non-negotiables in relationships. And if you don't know what that is, I might even do that for another one as well, right? So the next one will be sex and intimacy and the differences between male and female to feel safe. And then afterwards, we can almost do a journaling exercise to understand what are your core values and non-negotiables in relationships. Choose slow dating. So either offline or through friends and understanding what shared values are, right? Your kids monkey see, monkey do. So model boundaries, discernment, and self-respect to your own kids. But if you can't do that within yourself, there's a reason for that. So you either haven't learnt it or it's about self-worth, or you're a hardcore people pleaser and you don't want to disappoint in any way. Okay. So we've got to be able to build you up. So sometimes that also means that you might not be ready for dating if you can't enforce boundaries. And dating while you have kids, it's a whole new situation, right? Because you need your kids to feel safe. So I know it was a lot. Can be very confronting hearing all of this about what's going on. But really, Ask your kids how they feel about dating. What pressures do they experience? Are they boy sober? How do you feel about this online world? Have you seen porn? Use the words. Don't shy away from it, okay? So reflect on your own romantic boundaries, whether that be with your partner or whether that be with dating. So, do they align with who you are, your ethics, and how can we all get back on the same page? So, understanding the way that algorithms work, especially for our youth and especially for men, they do target young boys and they do target men, and understanding the people that make these, they're doing it for clickbait and for their own income stream. And if they make a really horrific, extreme video that goes viral, they then get paid a lot of money for doing that, even if they don't believe it. But then that will be pushed through the algorithms to then expose our young kids, our boys, and even our husbands, our brothers too. Okay. So understanding, is this digital content, is it toxic? Is it harmful? Or is it helpful? Okay. Does it create paranoia? No, we're not doing that. Okay. And then how does that then impact our young girls and ourselves as to where they fit in the world? Do your young girls feel they deserve to serve boys, or they're used for a purpose, or they're a prude unless they do X, Y, and Z, right? If they've been exposed to sexual assault, that needs to have a really good conversation as well, because there's a lot of that on dating apps, especially Tinder. So we need to be able to make sure that we keep everyone safe, okay? Encourage self-love, emotional awareness, as well as media literacy at home. It's very important. So let everything marinate. I know that was a lot. Listen to it again if you're overwhelmed, especially if it's happening either in your romantic relationship with your partner or extreme views, and how all of this contributes to the current society of people saying, you know what, I don't want a relationship, especially young women. I don't feel safe. I don't want to engage. I don't want to be involved. And then I'd rather just be single because it's just easier. Okay. So look after yourselves out there. Thank you so much for listening to me. And any questions, let me know. And then the next couple of episodes will be follow-ups on these ones. All right. Thanks. Bye.